evening. Oh, we need more energy than that. This is exciting. This is the first one. Good evening. I am City Council Representative Annette Dees Grievous. I represent the 4th District or District 4 in Orangeburg, and it is truly a pleasure to welcome you to our first Orangeburg Community Chat. So the idea came about because I've been on City Council for 2 years, and I wanted to create a platform or an avenue for people to be able to learn a little bit about what we do, because let me just tell you, the 2 years that I've been on City Council, I have learned a lot. A lot of things that I thought I knew, but I actually got a lot of education and knowledge since I've been on City Council. And so I thought it was an important idea to have a platform where our citizens could learn just as much, have a platform for us to share information with our citizens, and a way for our citizens to be able to communicate with us. So the Orangeburg Community Chats were born. This is the first one in a series of chats, and we plan to have these quarterly. And a lot of it, I think there's information on the city website, the Facebook page, and we are looking at other avenues to be able to communicate with you about these community chats and other events that we have going on in the city. So, just so we can kind of outline the format a little bit, if you saw an advertisement for these community chats, you probably saw that there was a QR code that you could scan to submit your questions. We won't be taking any questions live. However, during the community chat this evening, if there are questions that come about, there will be someone that's walking around with one of these QR codes, and you can use your cell phone to scan the QR code and submit your question, or if you need assistance, just raise your hand. Someone will come to you and be sure that your question gets submitted and addressed. I want to recognize other members of City Council that are here. I think the lights are so bright. I'm a performer, and so I'm used to these bright lights, and usually it's a barrier because then I don't have to look at the audience, but I want to see the audience today, but the lighting is really good, so we're going to keep the lights. But I think there's another City Council person out there. Is that Mr. Hanna? Mr. Hanna is sitting over there in the corner, and I do want to recognize Mayor Michael Butler. I don't think he's here with us as of yet, and other members of City Council. And we want you to know that there is no compliment or concern that we do not want to hear, receive, and that we will not do our best to address. So, with that being said, we are going to start with information about your property taxes, and then we will move over into your utility bills, and then we will address some questions that we've already received and hope to receive during the presentations. Joining us on our platform today, we have our City Administrator, Sydney Evering, our Manager of Department of Public Utilities, Warren Harley, one of the customer service representatives from the Department of Public Utilities, Delia Hasty, and our Director of Community Relationships and Development for the Department of Public Utilities, Mr. Randy Etters. So, thank all of you for joining me, and we will start with our property taxes with Mr. Evering.
Thank you, Councilwoman Grievous. I appreciate it, and I want to take a moment to thank you for spearheading these community chats. I think this is a great opportunity for us to provide some information to the public that they will hopefully find useful. I want to start out by talking about property taxes, and I just want to give a general overview of not just property taxes, but municipal revenue sources. So sources of revenue that the city collects that are used for funding operations. And the primary sources of those revenues are property taxes, hospitality taxes, accommodation taxes, and business licensing. So again, these sources of revenue fund all sorts of city operations. When you talk about our Department of Public Safety, our Parks and Rec Department, Public Works, which includes sanitation, just administrative functions. So all aspects of city government is funded by these primary sources. I don't know, I can't really see if the it's up there, the PowerPoint, but oh, sorry. Thank you. Let me get up just to see where we are. Okay. In fact, I think I'll stand if that's okay. So again, all aspects of city operations are funded through these revenue sources. The first and primary source are property taxes. So this is determined via a formula. You have your appraised value, which is determined by the county. The county assessor goes out and appraises your property every 5 years. This was basically set in law by Act 388, which was passed, I think, in about year 2006, if I'm not mistaken. So basically, every 5 years, your property is revalued. It can't go above 15%. And so you have your appraised value times your assessment ratio. Your assessment ratio is another ratio that's determined by state statute. For residential property is 4%. For commercial / business is 6%, and then it can go up to as high as 10.5% for manufacturing. And then there's a really obscure term, millage rate, and that is something that a lot of people don't really fully understand, but is very pertinent to determining your overall property tax, I should say. So your millage rate is basically 1/1000th of the overall assessed value. So you take the overall assessed value for all real property in the city, and it's 1/1000th of that. So a mill for the city is approximately about $40,000 to $45,000. So if you were to raise your millage rate, so let's say you go from the current millage rate of 109 mills to 110 mills, you're basically increasing the revenue that the city can bring in for about $40,000 to $45,000. So all of these different items go into determining your property tax, your overall property tax. So again, it's appraised value, which is something that's determined by the county, times assessment ratio, that equals your assessed value. Then your assessed value times your millage rate divided by 1,000 equals your property tax. Everybody kind of following me there? I know it's not simple, but let me try giving an example to see if that help. Hold on. So, to give you an example, on a residential property, let's say you have, the appraised value is $100,000. So, county assessor comes out, appraises your property at $100,000. You multiply that times the assessment ratio for a residential property, that's 4%, and you get your assessed value of $4,000. You multiply your assessed value times your millage rate, and again, the overall city millage rate is 109 109 mills, divide that by 1,000, and you get your property tax that's due, $436. Everybody's kind of following that? So another example for business or commercial property, let's say that that's assessed at appraised, at $500,000. The assessment ratio is 6% because it's a commercial property as opposed to 4% for residential. So you multiply that by 0.06 and you get an overall assessed value at $30,000. You multiply that $30,000 times the millage rate, 109 mills, divided by 1,000, and you get $3,270 in taxes. Now, when it is said that the city is raising property taxes, what is really meant is that you raise the millage rate. So you can go from 109 currently to 110, 111, what have you. So that's how that is determined. You probably can't see that completely for those of you who are in the audience, but wanted to give you an example of your property tax bill. So I just pulled a random property tax bill and tried to highlight some of the things I just went over. So for this property tax bill, the total appraised value of the property was $183,300 times your 4%, because it's a residential property. You end up having an assessment of, looks like $7,330. You multiply that by the millage rate, and you get your overall city taxes of $798.97. Now, one thing that you can see from the property tax bill is that the overall property tax bill is $2,080.25, but that's made up of not only city taxes, but county taxes and school taxes. So city taxes make up approximately 22% of that overall tax bill. Your county taxes is about 27%, and then your school taxes are 51%. So I think that's very important to note that your overall tax bill is made up of three primary sources, and then you have additional like fees that's included. Talk a little about the collection process. The county treasurer issues tax bills. Those tax bills go out in this time of year, the final quarter of the fiscal year. Homestead exemptions for those who are 65 or older, legally blind or permanently disabled. The first $50,000 of your property tax, your overall appraised value is exempted. Property owners pay the county treasurer, and then the county distributes the money, the city portion, back to the city. So that is how our property taxes are determined. I'm going to go over to hospitality taxes, I think. I just want to make sure. Hospitality taxes are another source of revenue. It's up to 2% that is applied to your prepared meals, beverages, and alcohol. The food service establishment, your restaurants are responsible for collecting this tax and then remitting it back to the city. It can be used for capital projects, beautification, promotional activities. So, for example, the Rose Festival, hospitality taxes are used to promote that in different events and beautification projects throughout the city. The city collected approximately $1.8 million in hospitality taxes this past fiscal year. Accommodation taxes are another tax that, another source of revenue, that is generally received from hotels, motels, and rentals of less than 90 days, stays of less than 90 days. Again, 2% is assessed. It's collected by those particular lodging providers and remitted to the South Carolina Department of Revenue. The funds are then quarterly remitted to the city, and it's used to promote tourism. And again, items or events like the Rose Festival, the Diamond Youth Baseball World Series that the city hosted, all of these type of tournaments can be paid for, or the funds can be used to help pay for those particular events. Make sure this is. Okay, and the last main source of revenue for the city is business license taxes. And this is the fee that's charged to all business owners who want to do business within the city. It is based on gross income, and the rates vary by the industry. So this is something that the rates have to be approved every 2 years by the city council. In fact, I think we're on third reading of that for this year. And like I said, it varies by industry. But businesses apply and pay directly to the city for those business license permits. And non-compliance, you might be subject to a fine. So overall, again, the comparisons of tax types, you have your property tax, which is the largest source of revenue, your business license, your hospitality, and your accommodation taxes. All of this, again, goes toward operating a city. There are a lot of kind of misnomers, if you will, or misleading ideas in terms of what the city is responsible for. Sometimes we get blamed for roads in the city. The city primarily is not responsible for roads. That is the Department of Transportation, for example. So I would say easily over 90%, if not more, of city roads are under the Department of Transportation purview. So if you have any questions, again, like Councilwoman Grievous said, please submit them via the QR code, or I guess, I don't know if you want to ask.
They can scan it, and there's somebody with
Okay.
QR code,
Okay.
so they can submit them now.
Okay, all right. And then the last thing I want to briefly touch on is accountability and transparency. The city is required, as is DPU, to do an annual audit. So every year the city is audited. We have public budget hearings for you all to attend if you have any questions or you want to learn more about the financial process. And we have to send various reports to the South Carolina Revenue and Fiscal Affairs Office. So there's a high degree of transparency as it relates to the city's finances. I know that, again, there's some misleading information out there, but we are audited every year, and if anything is incorrect, our auditors will let us know. That is their job, and it's required by statute for us to be audited every year. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Evering. for that presentation. Again, if you have any questions about anything that he said, or if it prompted another question about something that he did not mention, please scan this QR code and submit your question. You can raise your hand and someone will come to you and help you get your question submitted if you need assistance. So now we're going to shift over to the Department of Public Utilities. We'll hear about your utility bills, which I imagine some of you are really excited to hear about. And then we will start taking some questions or addressing some questions that we already have. So I think Mr. Etters is going to start us off.
This comes out. I don't want to stand behind the lectern if that's all right with you guys. I make it a little bit more informal. I'll let Pastor Harley get behind the pulpit here in just a minute. But what we want to talk to you a little bit about is your utility bill. And for many of you, I've talked to you about your utility bill in the past, and am glad to talk to you about it anytime that you have a question. But we wanted to address exactly how that utility bill is crafted. And we hear folks come in the office all the time. Why is my light bill so high? So we want to start there, because it's not just a light bill. For many of you, especially inside the city limits, you're not just paying for electricity on that one bill. You're paying for electricity, natural gas, water, and wastewater, as well as sanitation services. And so we collect the sanitation services on behalf of the city. And then the rest of the funding goes into our accounts to pay for the utilities that we purchase. Let's talk about that. So the DPU does not generate any of the electrons that flow to your house. We purchase 100% of those electrons from two different suppliers, one being Duke and one being SEPA, which is a government-funded entity that we don't need to really get into. The bottom line is there is no markup on that. Whatever Duke charges us for that electricity is what we charge you. Consider the DPU as your private trucking company. We're moving the electrons from the point where they're connected to our city to your home. And that's the amount that we charge that Mr. Harley will talk about in just a minute, about how we use those funds to maintain that system so that when you hit that light switch, that light does come on. So we hear a lot about the utility bill in terms of why is it going up? Why does it, everything, and I don't want to say this because I don't want it to sound flippant. I don't want it to sound like we don't take it very seriously, but all of the cost of what we do to serve you have gone up. And since COVID, they've gone up exponentially, where we're paying almost 2 and 3 times the same amount for supplies that we paid for just 4 years ago. But we mitigate that because we do operate very efficiently. And by doing that, we're able to keep your rates low. And it may not seem like it because you have been accustomed to low rates for a long time in Orangeburg. We're still one of the lower rates in the area, but we're keeping pace cost-wise with the cost of doing business. And let's talk about natural gas for a second. I hope a lot of you guys heat your home with natural gas. If you heat your home with natural gas, that is a very efficient way of doing it. And once again, we don't produce any natural gas. We buy 100% of that natural gas. And we don't mark that natural gas up. Once again, we provide you a service. What are we? Trucking company. We're moving the molecules, the natural gas molecules, from our city gate, where the main pipeline's tied, to your home. And that portion of your bill is what the DPU uses to maintain the pipes, maintain the meters, pay the employees, keep the lights on at our place, because we do pay the same amount for electricity that all of you guys do. And by doing that, we're able to maintain the system. The natural gas system we're quite proud of. Since its operation in 1954, the natural gas system, DPU system, has not failed to provide natural gas to a home yet. And we're very proud of that. There's been no interruptions on natural gas. We can't say the same thing about electricity, but we don't have a whole lot to do with storms and things of that nature. Water, wastewater. Your water bill is calculated very simply. You have a meter at your home. That meter records the flow of water through it. As you use more water, your bill goes up. As you use more gas, your bill goes up. As you use more electricity, your bill goes up. And what we've done is DPU has invested a significant amount of resources, thanks to the blessing of council, to put in automated meters. And you think, well, that's just, but the meters actually do a great job of alerting us when there's a problem with a customer system. The electric meters call us and say, hey, power's out. The gas meter says, hey, there's high consumption. The water meter says, oh, I think there might be a leak. And we have staff that periodically do random checks on all of those meters so that we can verify the data that's coming in. So we don't just throw a dart at a dartboard and go, okay, well, we're going to charge Ms. Jones $75 for water. Now, I've heard there's a lot of rumors out there that that's how we do it. And I've heard a lot of people say, well, yeah, I sit at my window every day of the week, and I've never seen a guy ride by my house and read my meter. Well, they don't have to do that anymore. But back in the day, they had to do it because there's no way humanly possible that you could estimate a customer's bill just by riding by. So those are the ways we calculate the bills. That's how we generate the revenue. And you say, well, guys, gosh, man, it's just so difficult. I mean, the bills are just so high. Yes, they are. And remember, the bill, if it's high to you, it's high to us when we get it. I can assure you that Mr. Harley and the team agonize over how they're going to make ends meet using the revenue that we have. And we do that because we want to keep your bill as low as possible. Natural gas is a prime example. I love telling this story. In natural gas, what we've done over the years is we've purchased storage out. Don't ask me about the technical aspects because I can't help you. But there is an underground cavern somewhere in the Midwest. We buy natural gas and we inject it into that cavern. And you say, well, why would you do that? Well, because we buy it when the price is low, and then we save it. And then when the gas prices go up, instead of buying the higher priced gas, we blend the lower priced gas in so that it keeps your rate stable. So everything we do is an attempt to provide you with the best service at the lowest prices because we're not an investor-owned utility. We're not we're a Dominion or a Duke. We don't have shareholders that we answer to wanting to know why we're not stacking cash in the bank. We have city council folk that we answer to want to know why their constituents are complaining about their power bill. So we're focused, we're laser focused. And Mr. Harley will show you how we handle that business because the money that we collect, and I know you're going to have a lot of questions, and trust me, I'm okay with that. And no, you do not pay for the lights in the gardens on your utility bill. I know people have said that for as long as I've been in Orangeburg, which is 60 years, but you do not do it, okay? I want to get that out of the way. And so at the end of the day, the DPU prides itself on the service that we give because we are held to a standard by our city council, and we take that very seriously. And so when you generate your questions, and please raise your hand, ask any question. We are an open book. There's not a question that you can ask, reasonable question, that we won't attempt to answer. And we can back up what we're saying by you visiting our offices and speaking to someone like Delia who will open the books. We'll be glad to show you how we calculate it. We have nothing in that facility that we'll hide, not a thing. So if you have any questions, by all means, raise your hand. Unless you want to be ugly to me, you can catch me after this if you want to, if you don't want anybody to know you're asking a question. If you're going to be mean to me, I'm very delicate. I'm a very sensitive guy, so, don't hit me too hard. And they put me up here because they needed a big teddy bear to get up here and talk to people because they didn't figure you'd be ugly to me. But that hadn't been the case in the past. But Mr. Hanna knows exactly what I'm talking about. So any questions you have, anybody have any questions? Please raise your hand. There's a QR code that they have somewhere out here. And if you raise your hand, they'll bring it to you, scan it. and we'll stay here and answer all of your questions, however long it takes, because you guys were dedicated and passionate enough to attend. So we want to be respectful enough to answer the questions that you might have and reward you for your dedication. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Delia, who's going to talk about, we've talked about how we generate the bill, how we create the bill, but now what we want to talk about is the mechanisms that you can go through for extending payment terms, if your deposit, that you need to make a deposit on a new service, things of that nature. And Delia is one of our most experienced customer service reps. We think a whole lot of her, so much so that her family came out to support her tonight. So we are quite pleased to have her here tonight. So without further ado, Delia Hasty. Give it up for her, come on.
Thank you. What I'm going to talk about is how we handle deposits when you come in and apply for service. Now, if you're a brand new customer and you've never had service with us, we go through several steps. We ask you if you had service with another utility company, because if you did, then you can actually get a letter of credit from that utility company, so your deposit can be waived. Now, of course, you have to have a good payment history with that utility company. If you do have to pay a deposit, they're determined and they're based on the 2 highest consecutive bills at that location. Now, one of the things I get a lot of, I'm paying someone else's bill. No, what we're doing is we're looking at history of usage at that location. It is capable of creating that usage. So that's how we determine, the deposit. And it's usually like the really hot months or the cold months. And the deposits can get quite high. So in order to help a customer out, we allow them to pay half of the deposit, and then we'll bill the second half and we'll break it up into installments for them. Let's see, customers, they also have the option to get an account guarantor. That's somebody who can co-sign for them and they won't have to pay the deposit. Now keep in mind, not everybody qualifies for this. We do have some steps that we have to go through to see if the guarantor can or they qualify to sign for a customer. Now, also, what I forgot to mention is if you are a new customer, we do what is called an online utility exchange, and basically it's to make sure all your IDs match. But during that time, it does a very soft credit check, and a lot of times, customer doesn't have to pay a deposit that way. And that's pretty much it for the deposits. Now, this is a big subject here, because this is what we deal with on a daily basis, is how we work with customers and their bills. Now, going back to the deposit, say your deposit's $1,000. That's just a really high one. There's some that are lower. Customer is having a hard time paying their bill. What we can do is we can look at that deposit, and if they can't pay anything at all, we can actually let them get a hold for a week to come up with that bill, the amount that they owe. Sometimes they can't pay exactly half, because we do have that option where you can pay a partial payment, you can pay half, and then you can get a week to pay the other half. So that helps the customer out a whole lot as well. Even after a customer is disconnected for non-payment, they can pay half and get cut back on, and then we'll give them a week to pay the other half. So with that deposit, if you do have one, and I tell my customers a lot of times, because the customers that we see on a regular basis are the ones that just are really having a hard time, and they can, use that deposit to hold their account. We're not using it to pay your bill because it has to stay on file, but we can actually give them a little bit of time to come up with what they need to come up with. Now, how to pay your bill. We have several different ways that you can pay your bill. We have 3 new kiosks that I absolutely love. They take credit card and cash. The only thing is they don't give change back, but we have 3. We have one at the Russell Street entrance, right when you walk in, it's in the little breezeway. We have one downstairs in our downstairs lobby, and that's also right in the entrance. And then we have one at the drive-thru where you can actually drive up and pay your bill there. You can also go through our drive-thru. The first lane located at the back of the building is, that's the kiosk. It's open 24/7. All of the kiosks are open 24/7. There's always one door open where you can go in and pay. Additional payment methods, we have an automated payment line that you can pay your bill at. You just follow the prompts. It's in English and Spanish, so that's very helpful. You can go online to our website. There's 2 ways you can pay on our website. You can, if you don't want to register your account, you can just use the bill pay and log in with your account number and your last name, and it'll pull up your bill, and you can pay it that way. Or you can actually register, and you can sign up for auto pay on our website. You have to register, though. You can sign up for auto pay, change your email address, all that online, and you can actually sign up for paperless billing as well. So going back to, I'm sorry, I missed one spot on the way the bills. So say a customer is having issues with paying a bill, or they only get a check like once a month or the 1st and the 15th of the month, they can go on auto pay, and we can actually change the due date to make it draft at that time that they need it to draft. So that's another good option. So if you have any issues with that, or you need to come talk to one of us about how we can help you help you pay your bill, or help you get an extension if you're having issues. There's a lot of agencies that do help, and we have all that info. I'm always there. Y'all can come see me whenever you want to. I'll be glad to help you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Delia. See if I can get this back in, Randy. I hope all of this information has been helpful to everyone. Let me do something real quick. So I wanted to put that up. So you guys can follow along with me. I know a lot of people ask about where all of this money that we collect, where it goes. I'm happy to say that the majority of our funds go back into our system. As Randy mentioned, we are not an investor-owned system. We are owned by the city of Orangeburg. The citizens of Orangeburg own the DPU. And so you deserve a right to have some benefit from that ownership. The benefit is that your rates are generally going to be lower. The bad part about it is we have a pretty robust system, and with 4 utilities, electric, water, gas, and wastewater, our gas system is about 70 years old. Randy mentioned 1954. Our water and wastewater some parts of our system are well over 100 years old. We've had substations on our system from the electric standpoint to be 60, 65 years old. We've done an excellent job, our team has, of going in
and trying to maintain that system. So we've spent a tremendous amount of money over the last 7 years upgrading our system. I talked about it during our budget process, but these numbers just reflect a little bit of what we do. If you look at the routine capital, those are things that we just do every day on a routine basis. Those projects are generally $200,000 or less, but it's a lot of stuff. Those projects generally cost us about just around 15 million, 14 million a year. We also have a capital improvement plan, and I know we had a lot of discussion about this during council meeting and the budget process. That capital improvement plan, we do our budgeting process with respect to the capital budget in 5-year increments. So we project out the projects that we need to pull off in the next 5 years to make sure that a system is resilient, that the system is safe, reliable, and then we can maintain and control cost. And that's the most effective and efficient way for us to do it. So we look at a 5-year snapshot. The departments every year evaluate the projects that need to fall in that 5-year window. And then, there are always projects that are rolling on and off during those, each 5-year window. But we are able to project what we need to do, estimate how much that's going to cost, and then we are able to make recommendations to council as to what rates need to look like over the next 5 years. So we always give them a projection on that. Now, as I said, things will roll on and off, things will change, regulations change from the federal government to the state government in terms of things that we have to keep up with. That could impact the cost up or down, but we project what those rates need to look like in order for us to pull those projects off. And if you look at the capital improvement budget for our most recent year, this current year that we just went into, our fiscal year starts on October 1, so that's the budget we're working on now. Those list of projects are about $50 million. Those are the list of approved projects that we're working on. And most of our projects will take more than 1 year. So you're looking at 2 to 3 year projects in that 5-year window, and we are able to plan each project, get it engineered, and then pull it off. We try any project that's over $500,000. We try to get a PER, professional engineering report done, preliminary engineering report, done, so that it gives us an idea of what those costs will look like. So we're very scientific. As you can imagine, a bunch of engineers in the building and accountants. And my job is to make sure they don't fight too much. But we do an excellent job of planning and trying to manage those projects to keep the cost as reasonable as possible. We know that if we miss one way or the other on those projects, if we miss on the high side, it could be catastrophic for us. So we try to manage that very closely. We have quarterly budget meetings. Everybody's got to justify to me what they're doing, whether they're doing it right, whether they're going to be on budget, because I need to be able to explain to these folks that the money is there and we're going to be okay. If I can't, they're going to be looking for a new manager. So that's my goal. So we always try to keep those projects as tight as possible. I know that some people, somebody might have asked, how is the money spent? How much goes for the projects? How much goes for administration? So we have our accountants have come up with this process, and it's not something that just Orangeburg does. We do it. Other communities do it across the state and across the country. But we have 4 divisions, and then 5 divisions, and 4 operating divisions. Those operating divisions touch the pipes that are in the ground. They touch the lines and the poles. They're the ones that do all of the work to keep you happy at home. Unfortunately, in order to have that taken care of, you have to have some administrative and overhead costs. And so we allocate across each division for the administrative division, because they don't produce any money really. They collect money, they help pay bills, all of those things. But we allocate those costs back across the 4 operating divisions that actually generate revenue. And based on those, we fund the administrative costs for what we do. And just to give you an idea, each division will pay their share based on their revenue. So the lion's share of the revenue comes through the electric division. So they pay about 49% of that cost allocation. So we take that, and that goes into the administrative bucket. The water division pays about 21%. The wastewater division pays about 17%, and gas pays about 13% back to the system. And with the transfer that goes from DPU to the city, that is also how we do it. So they pay a percentage of that to make up the transfer that goes back to the city. And so we have a systematic way of making sure that we are not overburdening our utilities. That's also why we want to make sure that each utility, as best we can, is able to carry its own load, because it doesn't put too much weight on one group to make sure that everything gets paid. But again, the lion's share is carried by the electric division. They are the biggest and have the most revenue that comes in through their operation. I think somebody also asked about plans to upgrade our system. Well, we are always planning, again, that 5-year window. Unfortunately, if you own a utility, you will never stop planning. In order to do, Eric Odom, my water division director, gives this stat, 1% of his system, if we want to get 1% of his system every year upgraded, it costs us $6 million, right? And that's a scratch in the bucket. It'd take us 100 years to do the entire system if we did $6 million a year. And so that gives you an idea of what we're doing. Some of the upgrades, by the way, I mentioned in that 51 million, I'm rambling now, y'all. Some of the upgrades include technology upgrades that help the system run better, that help us manage the system better, that make it more reliable, make it more efficient, and make it safe for not just our employees, but the customers as well. Randy mentioned that we just recently finished the upgrade of all of our utilities now are on automated meters. So there's not a real need to have, before I got there, it was 21 meter readers. Now we got 4, 6, and so that's the kind of thing that we've tried to do to be more efficient. We're working on, in this budget year, a new project that's going to cost us about $6 million, but it's going to save us much more than that over the life of the project, and that is an upgrade to all of our lighting, private lighting specifically. So if you have a private light in your yard, the DPU has that light, it's always running. If somebody moves out, nobody's paying the bill, that light's on. We're gonna go to a system that allows us to turn that light off when it's not being used, and we won't be wasting money. And that's gonna be the next big upgrade over the next couple of years, and we're gonna do that throughout the entire system. And that's gonna save us a tremendous amount of money, and will help us fight costs from the other side, and we won't hopefully have to get it all from the rates. So we're doing things to try to manage the costs every day. Every time I ask for a rate increase, I feel like I've been in a prize fight and I lost. No matter what council does, they can give me the rate increase, give it to us or not. They make us earn it. They don't just say, okay, do whatever you want to do. I have to come with facts. I have to justify it. I have to explain how this is going to make our system better and how it's going to impact you both on the service delivery side as well as on the financial side, how much it's going to impact on your bill. So I do my best to make sure that we keep their concerns at the forefront and manage that as best we can. So I'll stop right there, and Ms. Grievous, y'all give a preacher a mic and he won't ever stop talking.
Thank you, Mr. Harley. Thank you, Mr. Harley, and to all of our presenters. I'm going to give them just a short break, and I will again emphasize, if you have questions, just raise your hand. I can't see you, but there is someone out there that's watching, and they can help you submit your questions so we can make sure that it gets addressed tonight. Also, again, like I said, I'm going to give them just a little short break before we get into questions. If you want to know more about these community chats, get informed. One of our, or I think actually both of our PR people are here, and so they can collect your information so we can make sure that we get information directly to you. She's waving her hand right here in the white blazer. And so just share your contact information with her, because we want to make sure that we are doing our best to communicate with everyone, however that medium works best for you. So now we're going to, break is over, move into some questions. And I like the informal stuff, so I guess I'll use this one here. So we'll back up to the property taxes. Maybe that's not going to work. We'll back up to the property taxes since we covered that first. And one of the things that you mentioned, Mr. Evering, is that essentially the city's revenue comes from various sources, to include property taxes, hospitality taxes, accommodations taxes, business licenses, and permits. So are there any other revenue sources that maybe contribute to what the city has done, or contributes to projects that the city might be producing that is not necessarily a direct pay from one of these services that you mentioned?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the really good sources that we have are our grant funds. I see our grants administrator out there, Ms. Tanya Lott. Tanya, raise your hand. Tanya does an excellent job of helping the city find grant funds. We have received well over $30 million in grant funds, probably more approaching $40 million at this time, probably within the last, I would say, 3 to 4 years. So that is a tremendous revenue source that the city is able to take advantage of and help us pay for a lot of the capital projects that we have.
Awesome, thank you. And you talked about the millage rate and how that plays a factor in our property taxes, a huge factor in our property taxes. And I think you said our current millage rate is 109. Yes. So has that millage rate increased recently, or are there plans to increase that millage rate?
It has increased, but very, very incrementally, not high. You all have been very adamant about not raising property taxes, and I certainly understand why. Ultimately, it is encouraged for us to raise property taxes incrementally just to keep up with the cost of living. I mean, everything has gone up, and the city has to absorb those costs, but the tax increases have been relatively small considering the cost of inflation lately.
Am I correct in saying that the tax rate may have even decreased slightly last year?
It did. So our millage kind of rolled back. It was at 115, but because of the reassessment that is done every 5 years, there was a rollback to 109 mills because we didn't want to put an undue tax burden on on our citizens. So it actually rolled back to make sure that the tax rate corresponded with the overall assessment.
Okay, thank you. And I lost my train of thought. I had another question about those. So I know what I was going to say. So if you get your tax bill this year and the tax bill goes up, should we assume that the city taxes went up or the county taxes went up, or it just magically went up?
Well, you don't have to assume that it did not go up from the city standpoint this year. So if you do receive an overall tax increase, it probably was the result of our friends at the county. But that's not to say that, you know, down the road we will not make a recommendation for a tax increase at some point, because again, we have to keep up with inflation. But for this upcoming fiscal year, we did not have a tax increase.
Okay, thank you. So moving over to the Department of Public Utility, and again, I'm waiting on my iPad to go off and say that there are some questions that have been submitted. Those of you that are watching online too, feel free to do the same thing, scan that QR code and submit your questions. We will get them and get them addressed. So moving over to the Department of Public Utilities, those bills that we love to hate. So you said that our electricity bill, just the portion of the electricity, the portion of the bill that directly affects the electricity, it's based off of the amount of electricity that we use. But let's say that I'm keeping pretty much my electricity usage, so I think that consumption is essentially the same. My thermostat is set on the same thing year round. I don't change it. I haven't added any new electronics to the house. But my bill, I tell you, that bill just keeps increasing. What is going on?
Well, I will tell you this. There's a multifaceted reason to that, but the two things that we folks need to always remember is that the amount of electricity you use is directly related to the temperature outside. So we can set our thermostats on 75 degrees or 78 degrees or 68 degrees, and your air conditioner or heating unit will have to adjust the temperature in your house based on what the temperature outside is. So by setting your thermostat on a static temperature does not mean that you're going to use the same amount of electricity to heat or cool your home. And then the other part of that is the cost of the electricity does fluctuate from our side. So if we buy all of our power from Duke Energy, if their price, if they have a fuel cost change, then you're going to see a modest change. It could go up or down, depending on the cost of those fuel. Because remember, what we talked about is if Duke charges us X for the electrons, we charge our customers X. There's no X plus 1, X plus 2. So to answer that, I didn't want to take a long way to answer that, but there is a multifaceted approach to how that bill is calculated. And ultimately, I do want to stress that the thermostat is your single most important electronic device in your home in regards to your bill, because 61% of your bill is generated by heating or cooling air. And so if your home is drafty, if you've got inferior insulation, the wintertime is going to be brutal on you from a bill standpoint. Here's a statistic that you might find interesting. 51% of the homes in Orangeburg, at least in the city limits, 51% of the homes were built prior to 1974. What that means is many of those homes were not built to the efficiency standards that homes and things are built to today. So homeowners really are going to have to take a hard look at some of those things. And we're talking about some things internally that I can't really talk about right now, but they'll be coming out in the near future. Because we recognize the difficulty and the challenges that folks have in winterizing or weatherizing, because it makes a huge difference. One last thing, every degree change that you make on your thermostat is a 3 to 5% change in your bill. So if you move it from 75 to 76 during the summertime, you've just reduced your bill by 5%. If you drop it a degree in the wintertime, you just reduced your bill by 5%. Well, the industry standard is 5 to 7, but I like to be conservative because I don't want you guys to think that I'm just giving you a bunch of random numbers.
So in essence, keep that thermostat lower in the winter and layer up in clothing, and up a little bit more in the summer and lose some of the clothing.
I'm not going to tell folks how to live their lives. You know, if you want it to be 68 in the summertime in your home, then you have to understand that there is going to be a consequence of that, and it's going to be a higher bill. If you want it to be 78 during the wintertime, same situation. But we give you recommendations, but we're never going to tell you how to run your home, because that's not our role.
Right.
Our role is just to provide you with a service. And so, me personally, I'll work 2 jobs to keep it cool in my house.
I understand.
That was a hint at my boss here to maybe, kind of kick it up a little bit. But
So you mentioned something about recommendations. So does DPU provide recommendations on how to better winterize or weatherize our homes to, of course, assist with that utility bill?
Yeah, we do give them suggestions. I always, tell them to, make sure you get thicker curtains or, blinds, cover, underneath the doors, put draft. Lowe's has some plastic that you can put on the windows, to keep the heat and cool in, just to make sure that your unit gets serviced regularly. All that, does help the utility bill.
So our customer service representatives aren't just there to collect a bill, but they will actually help customers or work to assist our
Definitely,
customers
yes.
as best we can to try to, again, reduce that cost.
Yes.
Awesome. So, Mr. Edders, you mentioned that our utility bill includes a couple of different services like wastewater, water, electricity, possibly gas if you have gas in your home. My daughter lives in Columbia, and we compare bills. Her bill is always a lot less than my bill. Why is that?
she's probably using less. I'd love to tell you. I don't. Once again, there's so many comparatives. Does she have all 4 utilities where she's at? If she has a water bill that's separate, because City of Columbia has their own water system.
Oh, so it's not all billed together.
It's not all billed together. So she may be getting her electricity from Dominion. She may be getting her water from City of Columbia. Her wastewater services will be the City of Columbia, and the natural gas could be from a variety of providers. So there's one of the things that I mentioned early on when I was speaking was the fact that while we have all of our folks that generally will say, I've got to go pay my light bill, I like to stress the fact that it's a utility bill, because it is everything rolled up into one. Mm-hmm. And so, your daughter's bill may be lower for electricity than your DPU bill, but when you add the other services, you may find that her bill is quite a bit more than yours. And I can assure you, based on what we know of the surrounding utilities, it's going to be a lot more. And one tidbit on that, because I love throwing these factoids out. The state of South Carolina, these are all, and I always like to have receipts, and these are all things that you can find. You can easily research it on your own. But the state of South Carolina Budget Control Board does a survey of utilities in communities. And in the city limits of Orangeburg, the city of Orangeburg has the lowest rates of 213 different towns and cities, or incorporated municipalities in the state. The DPU is either the lowest or the next to the lowest for in-city water and wastewater rates. And so we're very proud of that.
Yeah.
And now, it makes it a little challenging, as Warren illustrated. But at the end of the day, our goal is to provide a service, not to stack money up in the bank.
Right. So another thing that you mentioned when you were speaking, Mr. Edders, was something about those Christmas lights, right? And so you said that the Christmas lights are not a part of the bill, of the utility bill. It's not something that's like tucked in there during that Christmas season. So how are those Christmas lights paid for? And perhaps you're not able to answer that.
Oh, I can answer it for you. I'll be glad to answer it for you. One of the biggest urban myths we have in Orangeburg is that the ratepayers of the DPU pay for those lights in the gardens, and they're beautiful lights. How many people have gone through there? I mean, every year, it's a tradition. I mean, the children love it, and it's a wonderful benefit to not only the citizens of Orangeburg, but the surrounding community. And so the DPU provides the electricity for those things, but we also provide a bill to Mr. Evering every year. And the city of Orangeburg pays that bill, and they don't get a discount on their rate. They pay the same rate, the residential rates that all of us pay, including the DPU employees who do not get a discount on their utilities, by the way. And so through the graciousness of the city and the city council, those lights are provided to the residents in the entire community.
So, Mr. Evering, I'm going to kick this over to you. Oh, we hear applause out there. But before you applause now, tell us exactly how those lights are paid for by the city.
Primarily through like hospitality taxes.
The hospitality taxes. And remind us again where those hospitality taxes come from.
So from food service, restaurants, so your alcohol, your food service bills, this is 2%.
So we could tell them to eat more and drink more.
Please.
So now you can applause.
If I could add one thing to that, just so folks will know. The city, in trying to be good stewards of those tax dollars, changed over their lights from incandescent to LED. In years past, we have 11 meters down there that record all of the lights in the gardens. It was about $5,600 for the entire season. It has dropped down. Last time I checked, which was last year, their bill dropped from $5,600 to $569. Wow. But you're getting the same level of illumination that you were getting before. So that's a testament to their goals of trying to reduce expenses.
Awesome, awesome. I think that deserves applause, don't you? So something else that you just mentioned in terms of reducing the types of lights that are in the gardens, are there other things that the Department of Public Utilities might be doing with some of these projects or other avenues to reduce the amount of energy that is being used overall?
Yes, so as Randy mentioned and what the city did, again, we are doing that with all of our lighting across the city. Our street lighting, we have a street light project that we're doing as well. It will be the entire city proper, and that's different from what I mentioned earlier. The one I mentioned earlier was specifically to the private lighting and some of the other lights that we control. We're going all LED, but we're doing the same with all of our street lighting and making it possible to have those automated as well. I know a lot of you have seen lights out on the street or in your neighborhood, and you have to call us. We're working to develop a system or acquire a system that will notify us so you don't have to. Again, to be more efficient and effective in providing that service to you and your community, your neighborhood. But yes, so that's going to save us a tremendous amount of money once we get it all in. I know it sounds like a lot. We're going to spend on the one lighting project. It's going to cost us about $250,000. That's the one across all of the city street lights. But then the other one, where we touch just about every light we deal with, that's going to be about $6 million. But it's going to save us much more than that over a 10-year period. So we'd be foolish not to do it.
Awesome. So, Ms. Delia, you mentioned in your presentation that if I'm a new customer, I may have to pay a deposit.
Yes.
And that deposit is based on bills at that residence that I'm moving into, and also a soft credit check. And there are different ways that deposit can be distributed. Of course, you said, I think, paying half up front, and then the rest could be distributed over a few bills. But what if I'm a customer and I'm having some issues just paying my bill on a regular basis? I think you may have mentioned that I can do some things to adjust when I pay that bill in terms of the due date. What are some other things or resources that might be available to customers to assist if I'm having a challenging time paying that bill?
So we have several organizations that do help pay the bill. We have OCAB, we have CCMO and Salvation Army. We do have local churches that do help as well. You know, you can reach out to them and get the assistance. You can come get a printout from us. We know exactly what OCAB asks for and what CCMO asks for. We work with them on a daily basis, and they do pay bills. So if you do need that kind of help, you know, definitely reach out to them. We can give you the information. And that's CCMO, Project Good Neighbor, yes.
So
Yep.
that project, Good Neighbor, allows residents to designate on their bills a contribution that might help people who are struggling to pay their bills. So we do it. Our employees donate to that fund, and we ask the community to do it. I know a lot of our council members do it as well. So we challenge you, if you know somebody that you want to help out. You can help out a lot of people if you just add $1 to your utility bill going forward, and that would be a big assistance.
Okay, awesome. So something else that was said, I think, by Mr. Edders. Did you want to add something to that? He said that DPU employees do not get a discount on their bill. I also want to reiterate that City Council does not get a discount on their bill. The mayor does not get a discount on his bill. We all get the same bill. So we understand when we're fighting for you, we're also fighting for ourselves. So we're in the fight together. Understand that. So I want to check once more to see if there are any questions that came through. We have a few more minutes.
Well, may I mention one thing that,
Absolutely.
that we failed to mention that is pretty important? We understand that folks' bills go up and down, depending on the season. When it's cold, they're more. When it's warm, they're more. But we have what we call shoulder months, which we are in right now, where you find that your air conditioner is not running. And Delia can explain this, and I wanted to give her an opportunity because they do it all the time. But we have a program that has been extremely helpful to folks for their budgeting purposes. It's called levelized billing. And so, Delia, if you would explain.
Okay, so what levelized billing is, your bill will be a set amount for an entire year. It's calculated on the last 12 months of service. The system actually does it. What happens is you pay a set amount every month. If you have a balance, it just rolls over. If you have a credit, it'll roll over. After that year, it recalculates and your budget amount can go up or down. So it does help a lot of our customers who have really, really high winter bills. And like Randy said, in the shoulder months, you get caught up and then either your budget amount will go up or down. So that is another option that you can utilize.
Awesome. All right. I'm afraid to do this, but Randy, you said it's the first one, so I'm just gonna, for 5 seconds, any question on the spot? Oh, there is one. Yes, and I know your question. So, on Sunday, on 60 Minutes, they talked about the Chinese government infiltrating a lot of US systems. And one system being utility bills or utility systems in small cities or towns. Orangeburg might be considered a small city or town, and we might be victim to the Chinese government kind of infiltrating our system. And when they infiltrated the systems, they were oftentimes raising the utility bills. And it wasn't because City Council approved a rate increase. It wasn't because I had more usage or consumption, but the utility bills were just magically increased. Does Orangeburg need to worry about something like that happening?
So let me say we all need to be vigilant about the possibility of some type of cyber attack. So for the last 7 years, we have been really ramping up our systems to make sure that we're protected against those things. Not saying that it can't happen. I've had several colleagues from other counties and cities that have been subject to an attack, but we have been diligent to, we've invited the Department of Justice in, Department of Defense in their cybersecurity group to help us test. We've done, in the last 3 years, we had an outside consultant work with us to also help harden our system. We're having to evolve as the challenges evolve that we have to defend against. So I want to tell you that we're vigilant about, protecting ourselves and your information against that. I'd be foolish to tell you that it's not possible that somebody could hack our system, but we're doing everything we can to defend against it. We have protocols in place that will help us recover if something happens. Of course, I can't talk about it live because I don't want to, make it easy for anybody to do that. But we have put things in place. Again, we're ongoing consulting, working with an ongoing process with consultants to help us harden those things as the new challenges come up. And all of our systems are on heightened levels of defense, trying to protect against anything that could happen. So that's the best I can give you at this point.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Anybody want to add anything?
I always want to add something, but the fear is real. Mm-hmm. The fear is real. But one of the things that the DPU does that helps to mitigate that from a customer standpoint, not necessarily from our data, but from a customer's bill standpoint, is we have a staff that reviews bills. We know exactly what your cost is going to be based on your consumption. And so it has to balance. So if you generated a bill of $200, then we go back and we calculate electricity, natural gas, water, service fees, and it has to equal $200. So those checks go on every day. They check, gosh, I don't know, 500,000 bills a year or something, some crazy number like that. So our books would not balance if that was going on. So fortunately, our staff is pretty adept at making sure from manual, we don't just use an algorithm or a spreadsheet. Our folks manually go in and look at those bills and manually calculate it by what the cost of the utilities are. And it while cumbersome, it provides a level of security that some of the other utilities don't necessarily have.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, I'm going to open it up for 5 more seconds. I don't think I see any hands this time. So that means we've answered all of the questions that could be out there, hopefully. So I think I saw someone come in, maybe, no. Okay, so Thank you all. Yes, I did. He sat somewhere I didn't think he was going to sit. So I do want to recognize our mayor, Michael C. Butler. He joined us. So thank you for joining us, Mayor Butler. And I want to thank all of you that joined us this evening for our first Orangeburg Community Chat. Those of you that joined us in person, as well as those of you that joined us online. Again, this is just the first one. We will have another one in February addressing a different topic. Public safety and our emergency services that are available, and different ways to utilize those services, and different things that the city does to make sure that those services are the best that they can be to serve our customers. So we invite you back in February. Again, there's going to be another one in the third quarter in May, and our last one for this fiscal year will be in July. So I encourage you to come back. Submit your questions. If you cannot come back, we will make sure that those questions get addressed. And between now and then, if you have a compliment or a concern that you want to share with us, please let us know. We, again, are here to listen, receive that information, and do our best to address it. So with that, thank you again. Have a wonderful evening. We'll stick around for a few minutes in case you have a question that you just wanted to ask in private. Thank you so much. Have a blessed evening and safe travels home.